There comes a time when you have to look past the surface of beauty, the softness of her voice, and the sweetness of her smile. There comes a time when you must sit with yourself in the dead of night and ask, who is this person I've invited into my life? Because the truth is, not every woman who wraps her arms around you is wrapping her heart around you. Some women carry desires so consuming that they can hollow out everything you thought was love and leave you with nothing but regret. And sometimes you won't see it until you notice the patterns she insists on in the most private, unguarded moments. The position she prefers, the games she plays, the control she demands when you think you are closest. You see, no one wants to believe that intimacy can be a stage for manipulation. But when a woman clings to these three positions like her life depends on it, she is telling you something about her hunger, her ego, and her need to conquer you from the inside out. And if you're not honest with yourself, you will trade your peace for a pleasure that will poison you in the end. 1. The illusion of surrender can be a mask for control. Sometimes the illusion of surrender is the most dangerous disguise a woman can wear. You see her body yielding, her eyes closing, her breath coming in soft waves, and you think you're witnessing trust in its purest form. You convince yourself that you are her protector, her source of safety, the man she has chosen to give herself to completely. But what if I told you that many times that delicate surrender is nothing but a meticulously rehearsed performance? What if those positions she seems to melt into are not about love or vulnerability, but about power? Because some women have mastered the art of using apparent submission to anchor themselves in your psyche. They want you to believe you are the one holding the reins when in truth, you are the one being guided, manipulated, and bound to a fantasy you never created. She knows that a man's instinct to protect can be stronger than his instinct to question. She knows that when she folds herself beneath you, when she arches her back just so, when she exhales your name as though you are the only man in the world, she is tapping into the part of you that longs to be needed. She is feeding the hero inside you who wants to rescue, to comfort, to claim. And while you are lost in that rush of significance, she is measuring exactly how much of your mind she now controls. It is a dangerous exchange because it never feels dangerous in the moment. It feels intoxicating, affirming, even sacred. It feels like the connection you've waited your entire life to experience. But what you don't see is that every time you take the bait, you are moving further away from clarity and closer to dependence. There is a reason she insists on the same positions over and over again. It's not simply because she prefers them. It's because she knows those positions disarm you. They make you feel dominant while she quietly becomes indispensable. She studies you while you are lost in her. She watches what makes your breathing hitch, what makes your hands tighten around her hips, what makes you lose your composure. And once she knows, she will recreate those moments until your body responds to her on command. That is not intimacy, it is conditioning. It is the slow, methodical training of your senses to believe she is the source of all your pleasure and all your peace. Think about how many times you have convinced yourself you were in control because she seemed so pliant. How many times you told yourself she must love you deeply because she was willing to be so open, so exposed, so receptive to everything you offered. You never considered that she was orchestrating the entire scene, that her vulnerability was just the bait for your pride. And pride, once it is stroked and worshipped, becomes the easiest part of you to exploit. When a woman figures out that you crave the feeling of being the only one who can satisfy her, she will turn that craving into her most effective weapon. She will become the stage, the script, and the director of every moment you share. You will notice it when you try to suggest something new, something different, something that doesn't fit her carefully curated dynamic. You will see her resistance then, the sudden stiffness in her body, the subtle withdrawal of warmth, the quiet disappointment that makes you question whether you've done something wrong. And because you don't want to lose the validation she provides, you will retreat back into her design. You will go back to the position she demands because it feels safer, easier, more familiar. You won't realize you're not choosing anymore, you're complying. You're performing the role she assigned to you because she taught you that straying from the script means losing her approval. Ask yourself why a woman would need to maintain such tight control over your most intimate encounters. Ask yourself why she cannot simply be present, why she insists on returning to the same performance. It is because she fears real vulnerability. She fears what might happen if she gave herself to you without a plan, without a structure, without the comfort of knowing exactly how you will respond. So she hides behind this illusion of surrender, and in doing so, she becomes untouchable. You can touch her body, but you will never touch her heart. You can feel her softness, but you will never feel her truth. You will believe you are the only one who has unlocked this side of her, but the reality is, she has never unlocked anything for you. She has simply given you the keys to a cage she built to keep you exactly where she wants you. The tragedy is that most men will never see it. They will spend years believing they were the masters of their relationships, never realizing they were the ones being led. They will tell themselves that no other woman has ever been so devoted, so responsive, so perfectly aligned with their desires. And maybe that is true, because no other woman has studied them so carefully. No other woman has invested so much effort in choreographing every sigh, every moan, every tremor of pleasure. But what looks like devotion is often strategy. What feels like love can be dependency masquerading as connection, and dependency is never satisfied with balance. It needs hierarchy. It needs you to feel like you are in charge, so you don't notice you've lost your footing. The illusion of surrender is what keeps you convinced that you are the strong one, the leader, the conqueror, but beneath that illusion is the reality that you are the conquered. You are the one whose heart is now tethered to a woman who does not love you. She loves the power you give her when you think you are in control. She loves the way you come back to her over and over, unable to break the cycle because it feels too good to question. This is why it is so important to pay attention, not just to how a woman makes you feel, but to what patterns she creates. Does she need to be conquered every time? Does she insist on the same dynamics that elevate your ego, but never deepen your bond? Does she recoil from anything that would require her to reveal her fears, her insecurities, her humanity? If so, you are not with a partner. You are with a strategist, and she will never stop playing the game because she does not know how to love without winning. A woman who truly loves you does not need to manipulate your instincts. She does not need to build elaborate rituals to keep you close. She does not need to pretend to be helpless so you will feel important. She will meet you where you are as you are. She will be unguarded not because she is weak, but because she trusts you with her authentic self. And in that space, there is no need for illusions. There is no need for performances. There is only honesty, but honesty terrifies the woman who thrives on the illusion of surrender. She cannot afford for you to see her clearly because if you did, you would realize she is not as fragile as she pretends. You would see that her softness is a costume, that her need for you is a script she has refined through practice and repetition. You would understand that she has never been vulnerable with you, only strategic. And that revelation would break the spell she has so carefully woven around your heart. Many men never have the courage to look behind the curtain. They would rather believe the lie because the lie feels better than the loneliness of truth. But you cannot build a life with a woman who must control you to feel safe. You cannot create a partnership with someone who only knows how to perform submission as a way to avoid genuine intimacy. Every moment you spend in that illusion steals another piece of your clarity, another piece of your ability to discern real love from manufactured need. This is why you must question what you see, even when it flatters you. Especially when it flatters you, because a woman who uses the illusion of surrender is counting on your desire to be the hero. She is counting on your longing to be the man who finally makes her feel safe. And while you are busy trying to earn her devotion, she is quietly convincing you that she is the prize you must never lose, but you are not the one being pursued, you are the one being captured. If you have ever felt that creeping sense of disconnection after what should have been the most intimate moments, if you have ever wondered why you feel emptier after every encounter, pay attention. Your spirit knows when something is not real. Your intuition knows when you are being handled rather than held. Trust that knowing. It will save you from years of confusion, heartbreak, and regret, because in the end, the illusion of surrender is not a sign of love. It is the calling card of a woman who cannot feel whole without controlling your perception of her, and no amount of pleasure, no amount of repeated performances, no amount of physical connection will ever turn that illusion into something true. 2. Excessive performance is a red flag for hidden insecurities when you stand in the presence of a woman who thrives on excessive performance. You often don't see the desperation behind it. All you see is the thrill, the spectacular way she seems to come alive in your arms, the relentless energy she brings to every moment you share, the feeling that you are participating in something unforgettable. And it's seductive. It makes you feel like you've finally met someone who matches your passion, someone who will never grow bored or indifferent. But beneath that constant performance lies a hidden insecurity she hopes you will never detect. It is the emptiness she tries to cover up by demanding you prove again and again that you are willing to sacrifice yourself to satisfy her. At first, you mistake it for enthusiasm. You tell yourself you are lucky to be wanted with such urgency. You feel special because she insists on extremes, on positions that test your limits, on games that blur the line between pleasure and exhaustion. You convince yourself it must mean she is utterly devoted to you, that her appetite is a reflection of her love. But love doesn't need spectacle. Love doesn't ask you to become an actor in an endless drama designed to keep her entertained and validated. When a woman cannot rest in the quiet, when she cannot allow closeness without performance, you are not witnessing intimacy. You are witnessing the theater she has built to distract herself from the hollow space inside her. That space is filled with doubt about her worth, about her ability to be loved without proving she can outdo every woman you've ever known. She is terrified that if she ever stops performing, you will see her as ordinary, and in her mind, being ordinary means being disposable, so she goes to great lengths to be unforgettable. She memorizes every way to pull you deeper into her influence. She learns what makes your heart race, what makes your breath catch, what makes you forget everything else in your life, and she repeats those things until your body begins to crave them. But craving is not the same as connection. It is an addiction she carefully cultivates because she believes it is the only way you will stay. There will be moments when you sense it. When the lights fade and the adrenaline drains out of your body, you will feel the emptiness she has been hiding. You will notice how she withdraws as soon as the performance ends, how she cannot look you in the eye without the distraction of desire to cover her fear. You will try to hold her in those quiet moments, to reassure her that she doesn't need to prove anything to be worthy of love. But she cannot hear you. She is too busy rehearsing the next act, the next proof that she can keep you mesmerized. It's a cycle that never stops. The more you give, the more she demands. The more she demands, the more you lose yourself trying to keep up. Because she is never satisfied, not because you are failing her, but because she is failing herself. No amount of attention, no level of devotion, no height of ecstasy will ever fill the emptiness she carries inside her. She doesn't understand that true love is not something you can perform into existence. It's something you surrender to, something you nurture quietly when no one is watching, but she is too afraid to be still. Stillness feels like exposure. If she stops moving, if she stops proving, if she stops demanding, she fears you will finally see the parts of her she has been hiding, the parts that feel unworthy, the parts that ache with loneliness no matter how many times she is touched, claimed, or adored. So she turns every intimate moment into a production, and she casts you as the co-star in a story that has nothing to do with love and everything to do with distraction. You may wonder why you feel so tired after being with her, why your spirit feels wrung out instead of replenished. It is because you are carrying not only your own desire, but also her unspoken need to be constantly validated. She is handing you the burden of proving she matters over and over again, and it will drain you no matter how strong you are. You cannot fill a void that was there long before you met her. You cannot become the antidote to her secret shame, and yet many men try. They confuse her intensity for passion. They mistake her insatiable appetite for devotion. They believe that if they just give more, try harder, surrender completely, they will finally reach the heart she keeps hidden behind all that performance. But you cannot reach something that is barricaded by fear. You cannot build a real connection with someone who will not meet you in the quiet. Ask yourself what happens when you suggest slowing down, when you try to find stillness in her arms instead of motion. Watch her carefully. Does she stiffen? Does she pull away? Does she suddenly become cold or dismissive? That reaction is your answer. She does not want to be known beyond the stage she has set. She does not want you to discover that the woman you see in those moments of excessive performance is not the woman she truly is, because she has convinced herself that if you saw her without the costume, you would leave. And maybe you would. Not because she is unworthy, but because you would realize she has been selling you a fantasy instead of offering you her heart. You would see that your relationship is built on spectacle, not substance. And you would understand that no amount of effort on your part can transform performance into truth. The saddest part is that she doesn't know how to stop. Even if you love her, even if you tell her she doesn't have to earn your affection through constant extremes, she will not believe you. Her insecurity is louder than your reassurance. Her fear is stronger than your devotion. So she will keep performing, and you will keep sacrificing yourself to keep her satisfied. Until one day you wake up and realize that you have given everything and received nothing real in return. This is not the life you deserve. You were not created to be an audience member in someone else's endless production. You were not meant to exhaust yourself proving you are worthy to a woman who cannot see her own worth. You deserve love that is quiet, steady, and real. Love that does not need to be dressed up in performances to feel alive. Love that can simply be, without fear, without games, without the pressure to entertain. But as long as you allow yourself to be seduced by her excessive performance, you will never know that kind of love. You will be too busy chasing her approval, too busy measuring your value by her satisfaction, too busy trying to outdo the last moment she demanded from you. And when you finally collapse under the weight of it all, she will not be there to lift you up. She will be searching for the next thrill, the next distraction, the next way to convince herself she matters. So you must have the courage to see through the illusion. You must recognize that no amount of spectacular passion will ever compensate for a lack of genuine connection. You must be willing to walk away from the performance, even if it feels like you are giving up something extraordinary. Because what you are giving up is not extraordinary. It is exhausting, and it is never going to transform into the love your heart needs to thrive. The woman who relies on excessive performance is not your enemy. She is a person fighting battles you cannot win for her, but you must protect yourself. You must refuse to be the instrument she uses to distract herself from her own pain. You must choose to honor your spirit by seeking intimacy that does not require you to perform. Only then will you find the peace that comes from being with someone who is unafraid to be seen, unafraid to be ordinary, unafraid to simply love you without all the noise. 3. Pleasure as a tool to breed dependency. Pleasure is supposed to be a gift you share freely, a connection that grows because two people trust each other enough to be fully present. But sometimes, pleasure is twisted into a tool for control, a means of breeding dependency so subtle you don't even see it happening. You think you're choosing her over and over, but what's really happening is she has made herself your only source of fulfillment. The woman who loves to weaponize the same positions, the same sensations, the same intoxicating highs, is telling you something very important about her intentions. She doesn't want you to feel whole without her. She doesn't want you to remember who you were before you felt her touch. She wants you to wake up thinking about her and go to sleep craving her. because when you need someone that badly, you will tolerate almost anything to keep them close. It begins innocently. She shows you a pleasure so complete it makes everything else feel pale by comparison. She makes you feel like no one has ever understood you the way she does, like no woman has ever cared enough to explore every inch of you, every reaction, every secret place inside your mind. The first time it happens, you feel alive in a way you can't explain. You feel chosen, almost blessed, as if you stumbled into something other men spend their lives searching for. You don't realize that she is carefully marking you with every experience, that each moment is another thread she's tying around your heart. And she is patient. She doesn't rush the process of making you dependent. She lets you believe you are in control. She encourages you to think you are leading, that you are the one introducing her to new experiences, when all the while she is reinforcing the same script over and over. She studies your reactions, catalogues what makes you surrender, what makes you lose yourself so completely you forget to think. Those moments are her favorite, because that is when you are the most pliable, the most willing to believe you have found something rare and irreplaceable. Over time, you find yourself craving the particular way she touches you, the precise rhythm she creates. You can't even imagine intimacy without her choreography. She has trained you to respond to her cues like a man hypnotized. And she will only deepen that conditioning the longer you stay. Every time you reach for her, you are reinforcing the same pattern, proving to her, and to yourself, that she is the only one who can satisfy you. This is the kind of dependency that doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like passion, like devotion, like destiny. It feels noble, as if you are giving yourself fully to someone who deserves it. But ask yourself, why does she never want to vary the experience? Why does she cling to those same positions, those same rituals, as if her life depends on it? Because she knows that novelty breaks the trance. If you step outside the script, if you try something new, if you disrupt the pattern, you might begin to see the truth. You might remember what it felt like to be whole without her. A woman who uses pleasure as a tool to breed dependency is not content with your affection. She wants your obsession. She wants the kind of devotion that blinds you to her flaws, that keeps you too distracted to question her motives. And when she senses that you are becoming too comfortable, too steady, too balanced, she will escalate. She will introduce new intensity, new heights, new ways to overwhelm your senses until you are even more addicted to her presence. And every time you fall for it, every time you let yourself be consumed by the experience, she tightens her hold on you. It is a powerful tactic because it doesn't look like manipulation. From the outside, it looks like passion. It looks like a woman who simply cannot get enough of you. Your friends might even envy you, imagining you have found the kind of chemistry that lasts forever. But chemistry built on dependency is a fire that will eventually burn everything in its path. It cannot coexist with peace. It cannot grow into something healthy and enduring because it was never about love in the first place. It was always about control, and you will feel it even if you can't name it. You will feel the way your self-respect erodes every time you find yourself begging for her touch, every time you measure your worth by her willingness to give you what you crave. You will sense that something is wrong when the quiet moments feel uncomfortable, when you don't know how to be together without her orchestrating your desire. That unease is the truth trying to break through the fog she has created. You will also notice that she pulls away when you try to create genuine connection. When you ask her to simply sit with you, to talk, to share something honest and unguarded, she becomes restless. She looks for ways to redirect you back to the familiar territory of pleasure, because that is where she feels most powerful. It is where she knows she can keep you under her influence. Vulnerability is her greatest fear because it would force her to reveal that the woman you think you love is just a mask she wears to keep you enthralled. You must understand that dependency is not the same as devotion. Devotion is a conscious choice to love someone fully, even when desire ebbs and flows. Dependency is an unconscious compulsion that steals your ability to choose. It is a leash disguised as passion, and the woman who wields it is not interested in building a partnership. She is interested in securing her place as the center of your universe, so she never has to confront her own emptiness. When you are trapped in that cycle, you will find yourself compromising your boundaries, your values, your goals. You will let her behavior slide because you are terrified of losing the pleasure she provides. You will tell yourself it's worth it, that no relationship is perfect, that every love requires sacrifice. But ask yourself, why is the only sacrifice being made your own? Why is she never willing to meet you halfway, to give up the control she clings to so tightly? The answer is simple: she doesn't have to. Because she knows she has made herself indispensable. She has taught you to believe that life without her would be dull, colorless, unbearable. And as long as you hold on to that belief, she will never stop tightening her grip. She will never stop manipulating your desire to keep you dependent. This is why you must learn to separate pleasure from love. You must have the courage to step back and ask yourself whether the connection you feel is truly built on mutual respect, or whether it is an elaborate trap designed to keep you from walking away. And if you discover that it is the latter, you must be willing to let go, even if it feels like tearing a part of yourself away. Because in truth, you are not losing anything real. You are freeing yourself from a dependency that was never about love in the first place. A woman who truly cares for you will never need to make you dependent on her touch. She will never insist on being your sole source of happiness. She will never use pleasure as a leash to keep you tethered to her whims. Instead, she will celebrate your wholeness. She will